Is number 8.2, RCMP Q4 quarterly update. We have our RCMP Staff Sergeant with a report.
Evening, Council. Thank you for allowing me to come to present for our fourth quarter of 25-26. Some of the things that we've been doing over at the RCMP detachment. Just for some clarity, because the numbers can get a little teeny bit confusing, the RCMP fiscal year runs from April 1st to March 31st. So the fourth quarter is from January to the end of March of 2026. So just so some of the numbers get a little teeny bit jumbled. Our total calls for service for the entire fiscal year were up slightly, 1% over the year. For the quarter, there was a 15% jump from 1,057 last year to 1,224 this year. Getting into the specific types of files, our check well-being files are fairly static for the quarter, up slightly, 9% for the year. Mental Health Act calls for the quarter were fairly static again. However, they are up 32% for the fiscal year ending March 31st. Our unspecified assistant files, again, these are files that don't fall necessarily neatly into any other specific category. For the quarter, they were down by 28%, and they were down over the year by 41%. And some of this has to do with better adjustment of files to meet a specific category. Our missing persons files were down from 15 to 11. The bulk of those files were youth who were away from the home for a short period of time and had left to attend something they felt like they should attend. For the year, they're down significantly, 46.5%, which is good to see. Impaired driving files, fairly static quarter over, but for the year, our impaired driving files are up. We have a couple of members that are fairly traffic enforcement oriented and have been doing an excellent job in trying to apprehend and address impaired driving on our roadways here in the QRD in the city. Our persons crimes, so these are several different groups of files jumbled all together. We're up 32% for the quarter, although for the year we're down 6%. And we'll go into what some of those persons files are. Assaults are up 18% for the quarter, however, down 13% for the year, year to year. Sexual offenses, again, fairly static for the quarter, but down from 31 to 22 for the year. Harassment files, we saw an uptick in those for the quarter from 33% increase from 21 to 28, but again, fairly static for the year, 3.8% increase, which is nominal. Uttering threats, we've had a fairly large increase there from 19 to 29 for the quarter, but a smaller increase for the year over. And there were several uttering threats charges of those files actually went to charge, were forwarded to Crown. Property crime in the city is up from 161 to 202 for the quarter. However, there is a slight decrease for the year. Bike theft, we saw a jump almost double for the quarter and a 40% increase for the year. Break and enters overall were up substantially. While the numbers themselves are relatively small, so looking at the percentage is a little bit misleading. I'll discuss specifically business break and enters in a further slide. So for the year to date, our numbers are up. If you notice, the business B&Es from 33 to 42 is almost mirrors the increase in business B&Es over the quarter. That we have attributed to a single person that was in our area for a short period of time. This person was active both in the city and in the regional district area, the provincially funded areas. We have not yet been able to charge this person, but not surprisingly, when they left the area, our business B&Es basically stopped. So we're very, very confident that's the person. We're just trying to put enough evidence to be able to address that person through the courts. Residential B&Es are also fairly substantial for the year. Nobody likes to have somebody come into their house, and we're trying to address that as well. We have a few people in that that we attribute most of those to that live in our area. Theft unders for the quarter are relatively static, a small increase, but there's a 20% increase for the year over. And I'll address something about that here in the next slide. So we've jumped from 12 to 28 for the quarter for shoplifting reports. However, the reports have gone down over the year. Anecdotally, we've heard that this is because we're having better reporting from businesses of these shoplifting files. One local retailer has changed their policy from not reporting at all to reporting and taking part in court processes. So that has helped a lot. And I have also heard from several businesses that where they weren't reporting before, they are reporting now, and we're getting those responses. So it's unclear 100% whether that is an actual increase in actual offenses or we're just getting more reports, which, if that's the case, is fantastic. We'll be able to deal with some of our higher profile offenders for that. Theft from vehicle, almost a double from over the quarter and 165% increase. We did a report a few months ago that showed sort of some of the areas, and we've been targeting those areas to try to figure out exactly who it is. We do have some targets identified that for these types of offenses, but the way they travel and the times that they're doing this has made it a little bit challenging for us to be able to be effective at this yet, but we're still working at that. And we do have we've achieved some provincial funding that's going to help us target this a little bit better. Theft of vehicle, a small decrease, 5 to 4, and a decrease over the year, which is good, from 23 to 2019. Our frauds, fairly static for the quarter and exactly the same year over. We have been hearing of several cryptocurrency frauds that have been successful, I guess is the word, in our area recently, and we're trying to get the word out, get some education to try to help people avoid those. Mischiefs, damage to property, things like that, from 76 down to 69 for the quarter, and a 23% decrease over the year, which is good to see. We're trying to be very visible in some of the areas that these have been noticed. Our drug offenses for the quarter were static. However, for the year, our drug investigations, not necessarily our charges, but our investigations are up 18%, and several of those from the last quarter came to fruition in our current quarter, where we've been able to make some arrests and see some results. Most of those that have been successful are drug trafficking, and all the ones that have been gone to charge are drug trafficking. So we're up from previous quarter, this quarter, to 3, and we've had a 46% increase in our drug trafficking investigations year over. Weapons offenses staying at 1, and over the year, again, fairly static. And that is it for my quarterly report for our files.
Around the table and see if we have any questions. Councillor Olamide.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the report, Staff Sergeant. When you mentioned the fraud part, it came to mind, I guess, a couple of things that I've seen online recently this week. Today I heard of, which has happened in years past, is whenever we get close to Blackberry Festival, there always seems to be some probably foreign group that tries to pull off a couple scams, and then I also saw one related to the Evo apartment building with an application scam as well. So just curious from the RCMP perspective, or what the city can do to help promote diligence and safety when these types of fraudulent things happen in the community.
Many of these are the same, for the AI scams, the cryptocurrency scams, is to ensure that the email that you're responding to or the link that you're clicking is actually the link you're looking for. Sometimes the best thing that somebody can do is come out of the ad that they're seeing and search for the actual event you're looking for, which makes sure you go direct. For some of the other types of scams where it's there's family scams, or they're pretending to be somebody else, or a bank scam, hang up and call the bank directly. And if there's an issue, then they'll address it. Also realizing some of the things that banks won't do. They won't phone and ask you for your PIN. They won't ask for gift cards to help pay off a debt. The CRA scam is one of those that does that as well.
Councillor Isaac.
Thank you, Chair. Through the chair to Staff Sergeant Dyson, I'm wondering if you could talk, you provided a lot of numbers, and I really do appreciate the comparison quarter over quarter and then year to date between the current and previous years. It helps paint a picture. I'm wondering if you could describe it in a bit of a narrative, like overall, like trends. Are there specific types of offenses that you are most concerned about? How safe are things feeling? Is there a bit of a overall picture you can describe how things are feeling right now over the past year compared to previous years?
I haven't been here for previous years, so it's difficult for me to address that very, very directly. What we're hearing is that overall, this is a relatively safe community. Some of the trends that we have is hard to talk about over the year because they ebb and flow in relatively short periods. For example, the B&E offender that was here, that's a very short period of time. He hits a whole bunch of things and then he leaves, which is good for us. I think he saw that we were starting to watch him and decided it was time to go. The trends that are happening, there's a lot of factors that come into those, and sometimes by the time we realize that the trend is happening, we look into the factors, they've kind of changed, so it can be a little bit chasing your tail a little bit to try to determine what those are. Some of the things that we're hearing from the community, they're things that are challenges that we're hearing about as problems. Traffic safety is always something that people are concerned about. I have a letter on my desk right now that I received today about speeding in school zones and playground zones. One of the things we've been getting lots and lots of calls about are youth on e-scooters and electric bikes traveling, what has been determined to be dangerously fast, or with little care for other roadway users or trail users. The illicit drug use has been brought up as an issue. The public drug use, but also the trafficking to bring some of these dangerous substances into our city that aren't supported, and we don't know what people are getting, so the end results tend to be very, very bad. Drug toxicity is a huge risk. The financial crimes we just talked about, cryptocurrency and AI scams. Some of the extortion attempts that we've seen a little bit here, not to the extent that the Lower Mainland has, and of a very different variety, but we've seen a little bit of those. We've been dealing moderately, but too much, with cyberbullying and sextortion issues, primarily within schools, that we've been trying to address. Our community policing unit has been successful in trying to get out there and get those words spread, but that can be a challenge with the youth, as I'm sure you're aware. And we're just trying to make sure that we're out there talking to the public and trying to get their feedback, as well as the feedback of council and the regional district, to try to determine what sort of our focus should be.
Thank you.
Southcott.
Thanks, Chair. Just one question. You answered my other question. With regard to, I am a cyclist, so it kind of annoys me when I see particularly people on, the new generation of motorized small vehicles. But it's always annoyed me that cyclists don't necessarily obey traffic laws or even are necessarily respectful of motor motorist traffic. And my own personal experience is I have good relationship with motorized vehicles. I stay out of their way as much as possible. But is that a problem? Is it being observed to be a problem? I don't see a whole lot of traumatic type incidents or anything like that. But control of these smaller like scooters and e-bikes, etc. Is it a problem, or is it actually working well?
So you're right that we're very lucky here. Our incidence of interactions, I guess what I would call it, between cyclists and vehicles is relatively low here, which is good. From what I've seen, I'm not understanding 100% why that is. I guess people are being more careful than it looks like. Some of the things that we're having is people driving some of these new electric scooters and not following the legislation as it relates to them, be they limited speed motorcycles or motor assisted cycles, and the rules that go with those. One of the things that we hear fairly regularly is the interactions between some of these electric bikes, scooters, whatever you want to call them, on the trails, and not having respect for some of the pedestrians or dog walkers and those sorts of things. So that is a big challenge that we're working on, trying to get some education and, follow that up with enforcement if we're not seeing changes in behavior.
Thank you.
Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Staff Sergeant Dyson. So just a couple of questions, if you bear with me. The first question I asked over at Regional District, and I really liked your answer, and so I want to ask it again. Are we having some of our crimes that are linked to out of area, maybe organized crime, and how do we work with those agencies to do enforcement on those things that may be kind of bigger than us?
So we work closely with several agencies, or whether they're other governmental units, enforcement units throughout the province, in trying to address some of these trends that we see. 2 weeks ago, or actually just before our last discussion, 3 of our general investigation section members were actually at a meeting with a group of like that to sort of determine what some of the trends are. That one was specifically for trafficking and organized crime investigations, to try to determine, sort of what's been working and what some of the trends are that we're seeing in other areas. So yeah, that's something that we take very seriously, to try to make sure that you don't work in a vacuum, and having the most information makes us more successful than if we were just trying to do it on our own. And also, as some of these trends happen, in my experience in the time I've been here, is that we're a little bit behind the curve, which is good, because when we hear it from other places, we kind of have an idea that it's coming here, and then we can be prepared and try to get ahead of it before it sort of develops here.
So my second question is a little bit about prevention of things we are seeing in the Lower Mainland, like the absolute astronomical increase in extortion that's happening in the Lower Mainland is new to them as well. Do we have a way to head that off at its pass? Do you know what the conditions are that contribute to that? I know it's probably organized crime as well. Do we have a way of tracking whether it's headed our way or not?
That's a difficult question to answer. There's several different things happening at the same time with the extortions that are happening in the Lower Mainland and across Canada, for that matter. We haven't seen any of those here to that extent. I'm not as well versed on that as I probably should be in order to give you a proper answer on that. I'm watching what's happening there. I'm involved in some of the meetings where those are discussed. And my guess would be that from what I know of those particular offenses, we're not going to see the rash of them here. We could, but I think that we're insulated somewhat from that for a number of reasons.
Okay. And then, so the in relation to thefts that happen in our community, there's been a curiosity that I've had and others, and of if it was perhaps linked to folks outside of our area, and how do they move all of this stuff, and how do people make money off of it when we're such a small community? You can only go on ferries. And so can you shed some light on whether we're recovering all that here, it's being sold locally, or if it is actually connected outside?
We are recovering some here, not all. We have been successful in determining where some of it's going, the stuff that we haven't found. We've determined some of that, but we're still working to actively figure out, so if there's a local fence, if there's somebody that we're dealing with locally.
Like bikes specifically, for example.
Yeah, so bikes tend to be, the people that steal the bikes are very efficient at getting the bike, changing the look of the bike, and getting it back out fairly quickly. Those tend to stay local. Some of the higher end stuff can leave, but what we're finding on the lower end bikes, they're staying local, and we're finding them. We just recovered one. I think it was 18 months. We got it back. And it looked nothing like when it left.
And it stayed local.
It stayed local. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Palm.
Thank you. Through the chair, Sergeant, always good to see you in the chamber here, giving us the latest facts and figures.
Thank you, Councillor.
I'm a little concerned when I see, large increases in break and entry, and in terms of your slide, year to date, they're up both residential, business, theft under 5,000 up, shoplifting surprisingly down, but theft from vehicles over 100% increase. Is there any specific area that we can tell our citizens they should be aware of when they're parking their car?
Yes, everywhere.
That was going to be your.
I couldn't let that one go. One of the issues that we're having is that, people are used to Palo River being a certain way, and unfortunately those times are past. We receive many reports of thefts from vehicles that were left unlocked, and personal items left in the vehicle, just, visible and easily accessed. It appears that many of our vehicle thefts are crimes of opportunity. Somebody walks by, checks the door, or actually sees an item inside and then opens it. So unlocked vehicles is a major issue. Not all, but that is one issue. The downtown core, not surprisingly, because that's where the highest density is where we're seeing most of our thefts and vehicles. The hospital area is another area that's seeing some, and a little bit by the complex.
Thank you for that. Just one second question, last question to follow up is, are we seeing organized crime coming off our ferries, entering our community, and then leaving quickly, or is any of that going on? Organized crime coming here just to partake for a day or two and then leave?
We do have information that organized crime does play a role here in some of our offenses. We have seen known members of organized crime organizations in town. They don't tend to stay here very long, so it could be that they're coming in to commit crimes or organize certain offenses. We know some people come here. It's a beautiful part of the world. They do come here for time off, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Everybody needs a vacation.
Yeah. Sunshine Coast. So, but we do know that there is active crimes that are related to organized crime here.
Thank you for your answers. Appreciate it.
I've got a couple of questions. First, all interesting slides, and it's fun to think about what those little differences are from time to time. But are those slides going to be available on the city website for people in the crowd who might want to be able to look at them more carefully, and maybe for Mr. Galinsky for the peak? And
they're attached to the agenda.
Pardon me?
They're attached to the agenda.
Are attached to the agenda. Okay. And the staff, so that means they're available to the public who look for the agenda. So that's good. Thanks. The only question I can figure out to ask you otherwise is, do you expect to see any spillover from the football crowd in the FIFA events that are going on?
What we've heard anecdotally is not that we'll get a spillover from the actual FIFA crowd, but we've heard that there are residents in the Lower Mainland who are putting their residences up as temporary shelters or temporary, I don't know what the word is,
Airbnbs.
Airbnb type things. And then they're coming here for a holiday during that period to get away from it. So I don't know for sure, but I have heard that that's a thing.
You're expecting kind of a surge of tourism to escape the FIFA crowd.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions from anybody? Councillor Elliott.
Thank you. So I noticed the impaired driving was up 29%. Is that increased people looking for impaired drivers, or do you think we've all of a sudden got more people driving with impaired than before?
I would suggest that is primarily that we're being more effective, not that there's necessarily more on the roads.
Okay.
Sometimes for events, there's a spike during a specific event, or we do get those, but I think we're just being more effective at intercepting them.
Right. And you did tell us that for theft from vehicles and that huge increase that you were trying to identify what that was about. Do you think there might be some individuals that account for most of that?
Yes, definitely. We do have some of them identified.
Okay, thank you.
What's any other questions? So thank you. We'll see you next quarter.
Thank you very much. See you next quarter.
That brings us to the consent agenda. Is there anything anybody would like to remove from our consent agenda?